returning to calling to order the meeting on the Bloomington Commission on Sustainability. This is our June 13th, 2023 regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. It's 6:02 p.m. Will the secretary please call roll? Okay. Oh, okay, wonderful. Well, I'll go ahead and call roll. Matt.
Here.
Caitlin.
Here.
Other Matt. Not here. David.
Here.
Najla.
She's in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. Nolan.
Here.
Emma here. John. Jessica. Is she online? Hannah. She can. Okay. Justin.
Here.
Alex. Okay. Are they on, Sean? Hannah, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry, I was having some technical difficulties.
Okay.
So I apologize for doing a roll call.
That's okay. I went ahead and did it, so if you can just continue to take notes from here, I'll shoot you the roll.
Sounds
Okay. Okay. Today's.
I hear my name called.
Okay. Najla.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure you had noted my attendance.
Yep, I got you. Okay. Today's agenda was distributed by email today, June 13th. Are there any objections to adopting the agenda as distributed? Hearing none, the agenda is adopted or approved. Approval of minutes. Minutes were distributed on Friday, June, whatever day that was. Are there any corrections? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion approved. Second.
Okay. Any objections? None? Okay. Approved. Sorry, I'm a little frazzled. Okay, public comment, done?
Again, I'd like to thank you all for your work on heat emergencies. And again, they're meteorologically, climatology, we're now officially in an El Nino event, which will likely result in potentially more record high temperatures than normal. So your efforts were timely.
Okay. Joe?
Yes, thank you. Move up closer to the mic if I may. Thank you. I have a couple of things I wanted to note. The first, I wanted to apologize because I haven't been tracking the meetings as closely as normal, so I'm not sure what's already been exchanged and informed, but just to touch base to let everyone know. Yes, Joseph Winia, proprietor of One Sustainable Joe, which is the first remark that I wanted to make was, I presume this already came up, but there is a new collective composting program underway right now that was just approved about a month ago. It's called Back to Earth. It's being administered by One Sustainable Joe. That is my operation. So it is jointly funded through the city and the Solid Waste Management District, and it is a pilot program for up to 6 sites in Monroe County. So it will probably be another month or two before outreach takes place to, I guess, get those sites engaged. But the process is underway, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, either if you want to add it as a business item or after the meeting, informally. So there was that. The other is that I recently met with Derek Carpenter, who is the diversion specialist of Rumpke Recycling. So just another thing that I don't know if it's been covered or not, but Rumpke has opened a new waste transfer station in the city of Bloomington. So they are a new provider in addition to Republic. So Rumpke has a big emphasis on recycling, And I think as has already been communicated through the Waste Reduction Working Group, they offer a wider range of recyclable materials. So all that to say that Derek said he would be willing to speak to the commission. He's in the area on about a bi-weekly basis for business purposes, and said that if there was interest, he would be able to take some time to present or field questions. And then lastly, just wanted to note, you probably already saw it coming in, but next door is the College Walnut corridor study that we were all invited to go to by Beth Rosenbarger, the Assistant Director of the Planning Department. So if there's time, I will be heading there afterwards. That was all.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Any questions for Joe?
I didn't catch Derek's last name.
Carpenter.
Thank you.
Carpenter. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Okay, we're going to move on to report from acting chair. That's me. So I had asked the working groups to put together 2023 year-end goals. The only current working groups are waste management and then the just transition. So Najla and Caitlin, did you guys have a chance to put some together?
I was not present at the last meeting,
Okay.
so I did not receive that information. But we have had multiple project kind of works that I can speak to, and I wanted to speak to tonight, so.
We'll do the working group. But,
Sure.
Najla, did you have any? If you had any, you can send them to me. Otherwise, I'll give you.
You
guys.
want like a list format, or?
Yeah, so like
Okay.
a measurable, attainable,
Yeah,
realistic goal
absolutely.
that we can report back on at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Just so we have something to put in our annual report. Waste management, we put together a couple goals, and so we'll include those in our annual report and report back at the end of the year. I'm gonna move this call to action letter down to discussions, and then we'll go on to staff liaison report.
So I was just notified, I think it was yesterday, that there's going to be a new mayoral appointment, Denise Vera. And we still have my previous vacancy as a common council appointment that's available if anybody knows of anyone that would be interested. Our applications are on our website. So I have an intern that's helping to work on the BCOS Neighborhood Grant Program. We're hoping to have that hopefully up and running by August. And then also working on the BCOS member grant program as well. That's about it. And just to let everybody know that we were able to submit a charging and fueling infrastructure grant last night. We got it in by 6:30. It was due by midnight. And hopefully we get it. It's to install electric vehicle charging stations all over the city. So keep your fingers crossed that we will be awarded that grant. So it's all public. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do have somebody that applied last week.
Oh, you
for
did?
a position, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Comes from, I think he's going for his master's in public administration.
Okay, great.
Josh Krugel, so if you guys see the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Shall I just read what Matt
Oh, sure.
sent to us? Okay. So moving on to staff or report from council. Matt couldn't be here, so I'll just read his email. Oh, goodness. Okay. The council is currently considering increases to the city's sanitation rates. These reflect increased costs in providing services, as well as consideration of whether to reduce or phase out additional subsidy from the general fund that helps cover sanitation services from those who receive services, buildings with 4 units or fewer. Unlike market rate sanitation services, which is what people in 5+ unit multifamily housing have to use, and unlike City of Bloomington water utilities, City of Bloomington sanitation revenues do not currently cover costs. Another option to consider longer term would be to expanding City of Bloomington sanitation services to serve all residential properties. That felt like a tongue twister. Okay. And then his next point was the council's special committee on council processes has begun looking at board and commission reforms, including the 10 recommendations from the recent organizational study. As he mentioned in previous meetings, one of these recommendations is to combine BCOS and the EC, given partially overlapping purviews. There are probably pros and cons to this and to all of the recommendations, and we intend to invite input from all commissioners on the topic of reform generally, and from BCOS and EC members specifically with regard to the BCOS EC recommendation. FYI, the committee is taking a short break from our meeting schedule due to CM Rollo deciding to step down. Council member, sorry. And deciding to step down, and council president, I can't say this name, appointing, do you want to say it?
President Sue.
Okay. Yes, that's it. Appointing Councilmember Volan to replace him. The city council is going to be on recess for about a month, coming up shortly. Once we scope new meeting times for the current committee membership, we will probably pick up where we left off in July. I will keep you all informed of opportunities for input, especially regarding the BCOS EC proposal. Any recommendations from the committee will ultimately be taken up by the council for consideration, and we're aiming to complete that work this year. So, I would say any questions, but I can't answer any questions. Okay, so we will move on to reports from commissioners. And we'll start with just transition. Caitlin or Najla, if you'd like to report out.
Do you want me to go first? Najla?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. You can go first.
Sure. So Najla and I, when last we kind of spoke with the commission, we're working on the fossil fuel proliferation treaty and exploring that, and it kind of opened up some other possibilities for us and just really shine a light on some of the blind spots I think we have as a commission. So I reached out to the Indiana Geological Survey here in the area and spoke to the director, Todd Thompson, and he was overjoyed to talk with me and shared a lot of information about our local geological area and offered to come speak to the commission as well. Since this is a fairly new commission, a lot of us have recently joined, I think it'd be a really awesome opportunity to learn more about our area, listen to what they do, maybe even explore some intersectional sustainability, since Just Transitions is kind of focused on that as far as equality is concerned. As far as intersectional sustainability goes, I also spoke with Nathan with the Summit Hill Land Trust. You probably remember me speaking about him the last time I was here. They run, basically it has to do with the community land trust, which is a sustainable housing model, and he also offered to come and speak to the commission as well. So again, I don't know, since a lot of us are new, this might be a really good opportunity to just learn about some things. I know when we talked about the fossil fuel treaty, the question of whether or not fossil fuels even exist in Indiana or drilling for them exists, and nobody was really able to give a straight answer till I talked to Director Todd Thompson, and he said absolutely not. There's none in the Monroe or Lawrence counties, but in other parts of the state there actually are some refineries and such. So that's just one small part about the geological features in our area that he knows about and could share with us. So I don't know, I just thought it would be a good idea. Thoughts?
I think that'd be great to hear from him, so I'll definitely put that on my list to reach out to you guys, to reach out to him, to schedule a time.
Yeah, he just wanted to know kind of the constraints, how long of a presentation, and then I think the Q&A will probably be the most interesting piece because each of us have such a different background, so the areas where our specialties might overlap with that could be interesting. And then also dates, like what do our agendas look like coming up, and when can we put both Nathan and Todd on the schedule?
Okay. You can send me his contact information. I can
Yeah.
reach out to him.
Oh, you want to reach out to him directly?
Sure, I
Okay.
can.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
let's make it happen.
Najla, did you want to add anything?
Oh, yeah, I can finish our report for the just transition, if you're all done, Caitlin.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, a couple things came up between our last meeting and now regarding the fossil fuel treaty. It came to our attention that there was some confusion by people in the commission about the goals and of the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty initiative and its particular alignment with the climate action plan. So we wanted to address those briefly. And that is that the goals of this initiative are not to ask the city to endorse an international treaty, but to ask the city to sign a resolution, which we read, that would encourage the state and/or national governments to encourage such a treaty being made, because this is the only feasible approach to reaching the climate goal of maintaining a habitable planet for the residents of our city. In other words, demand side action is not enough. That's what this resolution says. It says that the only way we're going to reach our climate goals is a supply side approach, rather than simply encouraging people to buy, less fossil fuels. We actually need a comprehensive supply side solution if we're going to be able to continue to inhabit this planet. And this is in line with the Climate Action Plan, the energy and the built environment goals of encouraging state and federal government action to reach responsible climate goals. Secondly, I think frankly that's a very important goal on its own, but the other goals of this initiative, which Caitlin was referring to, are to spur our commission to research the local implications of a supply side approach to phasing out fossil fuel use, including but not limited to investments in renewable energy exploration, innovation, infrastructure, including grid modernization. These are also goals that are directly in support of the Climate Action Plan goals, Energy and the Built Environment 1 through 5. And so our current work on exploring the local implications of this include Caitlin's work in determining that fossil fuels are not extracted in our community. And we're currently reaching out to both Duke and Centerpoint, who are our providers of energy in our community. We also wanted to clarify that we do not expect the city of Bloomington has the ability to cancel or modify any existing contracts with these companies, nor do we plan to make any such recommendations in this initiative. We do hope to engage, however, these important stakeholders in discussions with our commission about how the transition to renewables might affect our community, especially the most marginalized people in our community, and what efforts these companies are taking to prepare for this transition to ensure that it is a just transition for our community. Finally, our working group hopes to trace the supply chain of fossil fuels that our city currently uses back to their original sources, so that we might better prepare for ensuring the workers employed in this supply chain will have opportunities for green jobs or other secure employment during this transition phase that our community must undertake. So we wanted to, that's both an update and clarification of some areas of confusion that we were alerted to after the last meeting. And then I just also wanted to make sure that, Caitlin, that you had mentioned wanting to invite the Nathan from the Community Land Trust
Yes, yes.
to the commission, because that's another initiative from the Just Transition Working Group.
Yes, I did mention Nathan. He just emailed me back today and said that he'd love to come present to the group. So I think that if everybody on the commission is amenable, that might be two kind of guests. That might be interesting.
Are there any, any questions or like clarifying questions about the fossil fuel initiative by the commission or anyone else?
What's the actionable outcome? So if the city adopts the resolution, what, aside from abstract efforts towards green energy, reduction of fossil fuels, what, say they adopted it, what would be the first thing that you would hope would be an outcome of their decision?
Well, I would say we can't really answer that until we have completed our research that we're currently doing to find out what the local implications of such a transition would be for our community. And then we plan to, once we find out what those implications are, we plan to try to research what recommendations we might suggest to improve those outcomes for our community, and then include those into the resolution that we read last month. And so hopefully those would have answered your question. But I would also state that even if the only actionable outcome of this entire initiative was to get our city to pressure the state, to pressure the national government to take action on a supply side treaty to address fossil fuel non-proliferation, I would not see this as an abstract outcome. I would see this as a very tangible outcome that is probably the only feasible way that we will continue to inhabit this planet.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Najla. We are going to move on to our new working group that Justin has put together, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what he is planning for this working group.
Sure, great. Thanks, everyone. So the working group that I've been planning is what I'm calling the Strategic Engagement and Outreach Working Group. And so the idea of this group is to support the mission of this commission through building collaborative relationships with sort of like-minded, similar groups, groups that have some sort of overlap with our mission, and also through educational outreach to the public. So those kinds of relationships could be with other city entities, like other commissions, other boards, maybe at the county level. Could also be, NGO type organizations or academia people or private industry, that sort of thing. And then on the public outreach side of it, it's just sort of generating awareness of sustainability issues, what we do here on the commission, education, and then soliciting that community input that we can then take forward. So the reason I wanted to address this was kind of a couple-fold. Number one, I think it's a good idea to have some sort of structured way to both create and then foster, continue to maintain these sorts of relationships. By working with other groups in a strategic way, we can share knowledge, we can combine resources, we can avoid duplicating efforts, that sort of thing. We can really sort of maximize the impact that we could have because if we're pooling resources together, we can kind of get a lot more done in a period of time. And then I think we can also sort of diversify the portfolio of initiatives and projects that we're pursuing here, sort of to the point earlier about the sort of broader mission of this commission, if you compare it to, say, the Environmental Commission, where here we're looking at sustainability from a socio-environmental economic lens, not just the environmental lens. So there are a lot of groups out there that are doing work that could be related to some of that socio-economical side of things that we could sort of leverage to build up the diversity of efforts of this commission. So the general approach that I have so far is to develop and execute an engagement strategy. So not just to kind of pick out a couple names out of a hat and then go for it, but to put a little bit of thought into it up front, kind of map out what the other groups and organizations in the area are that we might want to engage with, sort of prioritize those in terms of where we think we could have the greatest impact, and then come up with a plan to actually connect with them if we're not already connected, and sort of start building those relationships and find ways where we can collaborate. So that engagement strategy I currently have in a draft form. It's sort of half finished, and of course I would I would very much welcome feedback and input on that. I have uploaded it to the Google Drive, so people can find it there in the working groups directory. And I think in addition to that engagement strategy, also developing some sort of public outreach and education plan. If it's sort of a broad plan, would be a good thing. I don't currently have anything in the works for that, so if people have ideas, we definitely welcome them. And as another part of the approach, sort of building off past work that this commission has done. So as I sort of poked through some old minutes and things like this and some of the documents that were in the Google Drive, it looks like this is not the first time that these sorts of collaborative relationships have been established in the past. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can leverage some of those relationships we've built in the past, and sort of build on top of that. I think it's important to really sort of keep these things documented, because it can, what I've seen in organizations that I've been a part of in the past is that it's really easy to sort of lose the institutional knowledge as there is turnover throughout the people that are engaged, right? So if we have sort of a connection to a particular group, and then the person on our commission who's involved with that leaves, and then we suddenly don't have that relationship anymore. We want to make sure that we're maybe slotting someone else in there to sort of take over in a seamless way, and just to keep that institutional knowledge so we can look back, a few years later and say, okay, we've done this in the past, we've done that, now we're treading new water, or new ground. So what I'm sort of planning to do on this front is just to give regular reports at this meeting as we sort of gear things up, just about the lines of effort, and any relevant goings on with the various groups that we choose to engage with. And my hope is that other people will sort of get involved to the extent that they're able. I'm hoping that the intention is that it'll be kind of a flexible situation. So if you have, an hour a month to give, that would be great. And if you want to put more into it, that would be awesome too. The goal is to make it sort of agile and iterative, so that as we go along and we learn new things, we can kind of adjust the strategy. And once things are kind of up and running, hopefully it won't take too much effort to kind of maintain it, right? It'll just be kind of keeping that momentum going. So for the year-end goals, I came up with a couple just to start us off. Of course, we can tweak these a bit if people have thoughts on this. So I came up with 3. Number 1 is just to finalize and begin executing that engagement strategy. Number 2 is to establish relationships with the top 7 other organizations that we want to connect with. However we decide to rank those in terms of what we think would be the most beneficial, let's pick 7 groups and try to establish communication with them if we don't already have that, start building those relationships, see if we can find areas that we can collaborate on. And then the third goal is to complete, or at least get the ball rolling on one sort of collaborative project of some sort. We're working with another group, or maybe an outreach project if we're looking at it from the public engagement side. So if folks are interested in getting involved, please let me know. You can email me or talk to me directly. In the immediate term, looking to get that engagement strategy sort of finalized and in good shape, so that we can present it at the next meeting. So looking for input on that. And for that initial round of engagements, it would be good to have some liaisons to sort of be the point person to interface with those groups. And we may already have some of that. That's sort of going on in a bit more unstructured way. So it's a little bit of a sort of meta working group in the sense that it's not, addressing one particular topic head on, but it's sort of a group that's meant to enable addressing topics in a more broad a way. Because of course we as a single commission can only do so much, right? But collaborations are always more powerful than the integral parts that make them up, right? So the goal is to sort of leverage that. So happy to hear comments, questions, suggestions. Again, I'm quite new to this commission, so if I'm sort of doing things that have already been done, happy to hear that, or if I'm stepping on somebody's toes, let me know. Yeah, happy to take questions, comments.
You have a name for it?
So it's the Strategic Engagement and Outreach Working Group.
Okay.
But happy to take suggestions.
I think I've got your first two outreaches set up for you.
Perfect.
With the two guests. So no, I just mean to say that I think it actually kind of perfectly overlaps with what our working group was talking about, which is kind of this fact-finding mission and educating ourselves about Bloomington more and this commission and kind of where those intersections are of sustainability. So, yeah, I think it's a cool idea. You're kind of the project management office of the of the commission.
Oh, yeah, can I go?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that, I approve of this approach that you're taking. It's very similar to the, approach, like sort of a design thinking, a systems-based, outreach approach, that you're taking to this work. And, my only suggestion, which is also in line with our working group, would be when you're engaging with the community to prioritize engaging the people who are most impacted by the different issue areas that you're researching. Because we actually, I'm on an outreach committee on another commission that has a very, very similar mission as the one that you're describing, having for this commission. And just a key part of that, in my experience of doing consent-based community outreach, is prioritizing, targeting the people who are most impacted by those decisions. And so, that might be certain marginalized groups, it might be certain subject matter experts, it might be people in certain neighborhoods, it could be people who work in certain industries, right? So that would be my suggestion. And yeah, I'm interested in joining it as well. I don't know how much time that, I have outside the Just Transition Working Group, but I'm certainly interested in this idea. I think it's a good one.
Great, thank you. Yeah, appreciate those comments.
I mean, it sounds like you're talking about an inductive approach to doing our commission work rather than a deductive one, which is what we tend to do, which is take our own favorite topics and just go with it. You're talking about doing a more inductive approach. So I like that idea.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we'll definitely loop you in going forward.
Okay, we'll move, I skipped over us, but we can move on to waste management.
Okay, so we came up with our year-end goals, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail. But as we spoke about last meeting, with the Rumpke versus Republic, there was a meeting at Rumpke that anybody could go to. Emma, myself, Joe, and Sean were there. And there were three main points that make it a no-brainer from my point of view that we switch to, or that the city switches to Rumpke. We just need to figure out who it is that makes that final decision. But before that even happens, the city, by sometime in August, need to give Republic, per the contract, 60-day notice saying that they want to get bids. Because if they don't, the contract auto renews for another year. So the three main reasons, and I'm sure there's plenty of others. One is that the landfill that Rumpke uses is 35 miles away, 34, 35 miles away, whereas the landfill that Republic uses is 67, 68 miles away. So when you're considering the miles per gallon these trucks get, that's a massive win in reducing the impact of how the carbon impact that it takes to get the trash to the landfill. The second thing is Rumpke collects methane from their landfill. I know that this is something that Matt Flaherty was very interested in. He gave me a statistic that 60 to 90% of the methane is collected, whereas Republic does not collect methane from their landfill at all. So that was what was most interesting to him. And then, so that's on the trash side. On the recycling side, a goal that Waste Management had was to look into Tetra Paks. If you're not familiar with what those are, think of your almond milks, your soups, things like that comes in those. Republic does not recycle those. Rumpke does. And if we look at our climate action plan, the city wants to reduce waste going to the landfill by a certain percentage by 2030. That is seriously low-hanging fruit. Now, with all that being said, like I said, it seems like a no-brainer to me. The city is planning on increasing rates because as Emma read that Matt's email, right now the city subsidizes almost 50% of the cost of recycling and trash. I think it's like $18 is average. So they're planning on upping it to 36 from what I read from an article in the paper. So now would be the perfect time to switch providers, even if Rumpke ends up being, let's say, $4 more per month per resident. Well, they're already doubling it. What's a few more dollars? Now, I say that, but a few more dollars can make a massive difference to plenty of people. Still, the long-term impact of less miles, collecting the methane, and being able to recycle more seems like, once again, an absolute no-brainer. So, as a working group, we're going to be putting together, we're going to be putting together, drafting
Call to action.
a call to action. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, a call to action to ask the city to give the 60-day, give the notice of accepting bids for the new contract and pushing them towards Rumpke, because all the evidence says that that's a vastly better option based on what the city's climate action goals are. And so we're going to hopefully present that to the BCause next month so that everybody can read it, and then maybe the month after that vote on it, which is cutting it close. Yeah. So my question for Sean, or our question for Sean, was, can you figure out who it is that makes the final decision? Because I did go to the a city council meeting, and I presented this to the city council so that they understood what a no-brainer it is. But they're not the decision makers. They can decrease a budget, but they cannot say you must go with this option. Is that something that you would be able to figure out who it is?
I can figure that out. I
Okay.
would imagine it would be Public Works.
Okay.
I'm not positive on that. I'll let you know.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you. So that,
That's one of our year-end goals, and
Yep.
we'll bring back to the commission next.
the other two goals are to finalize our compost captains project program and begin a trial in one neighborhood. And if you're not familiar with compost captains, the idea is there are already people who are composting in every neighborhood across the country. We're just looking for those people to step up and say, I'm willing to take 1, 2, 3 of my neighbors' food waste. That's especially poignant at this time because, as we all know, the only company that did residential composting shut down. And so it would not fill the entire need. It would fill a small portion of the need. But if we're talking about being more sustainable, people keeping their food waste in their neighborhood, turning it into soil, makes a heck of a lot of sense. And the idea would then to be to train them, people that want to learn how to increase it or do things like bokashi or other ways of composting that will benefit everybody. And then last but not least, when we were out at the Rumpke presentation, we found out they have a designated area just for glass, and this would not be from residential, this would be commercial and industrial glass. And so we wanted to research successful glass recycling by commercial business programs that run in other cities. If you've been downtown, I took a picture at upstairs, and you look in the trash cans, and there's plenty of glass. There's plenty of plastic as well. So is there a way that we can, are there other cities that are currently successful with bars or with industry that are recycling on a massive level that we can not reinvent the wheel and just follow exactly what they're already doing? Because that seems, from our perspective, once again, low-hanging fruit. We just have to figure out what is the best way to do that that doesn't disrupt business, that we can integrate into what these bars or commercial industrial businesses are already doing.
Is there already a recycle for cash program for bottles and cans?
Are you asking me, is there?
Yes.
Not that I'm aware of. Okay. Sustainable Joe says no.
Okay, so if they can monetize or if we can find a program that will accept it, maybe that's something we can incorporate with,
As an incentive.
as an opportunity to fund some other projects, or some of the unhoused people that are down there anyway, maybe anxious to participate in collection. So that,
Gotcha.
basically
Go
help
into
it
the
pay for
trash.
itself.
Yeah.
Right. It's happening anyway, so.
Yeah.
Right. Giving them a resource and while recycling the bottles and cans.
Which we probably everybody has seen in plenty of other
Right.
states where you see people collecting
I've done it
glass.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, can you repeat the 3 goals? I just want to make sure I get them
So
down correctly.
number
Oh,
one,
I'll send them to you, Hannah.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Sorry.
yeah, thank you.
Sure.
So that is it from the Waste Management Working Group.
Okay. We talked about the call to action letter just now. No new business, no resolutions. So I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting is on July 11th, 2023 at 6 p.m. right here in this room. Thanks, everyone.